In this video, we'll talk about how to find sources for your History 270 research paper. I'm Dawn Imsalam, I'm the library director, and if you have questions after this presentation, you can Google Dawn Salve Library and you'll find my email address. After this presentation, you'll also have an online research activity which you'll use to get started with your research and identify any issues you may have for the in-class workshop. So what are we doing here? First, we're going to create a research strategy to help you figure out how to find sources for your topic. And we're going to identify search words and phrases depending on your topic and the search tool you try to use. And then we're going to actually find some primary and secondary sources for your paper. And we're going to practice using the library's article search, JSTOR, the library's book search, and possibly other sources. So the first thing we always should do is look very closely at your assignment. And in this case, Professor Neary requires that you use 2 primary sources and 2 secondary sources at least. You're also going to be using Chicago or Turabian, and in particular, Jules Benjamin's Student Guide to History, Chapter 10, for a guide to how to create and format your paper. First, we're going to craft a research strategy, and to do that, we'll ask 4 questions. First, what information is required? And your professor would like you to find scholarly analysis to support your assertions and primary source material. Question 2, what type of sources are required? We know that we need primary source materials and also articles and books, and you may find primary source materials in those articles and books, ideally. Question 3 is what kind of search tool is going to help us find this information? And in this case, as we said, we're going to look at the library's article search, which links us up to our EBSCO databases. JSTOR, which is an article database that also has ebooks. It's very strong in the humanities and in historical material, and the library's book catalog. And if you're also having trouble finding materials on your topic, it may be that search tools such as Google Scholar or Google Advanced Search could help you. The last question is what search words or phrases will we try in each tool? And this is really important because the first words that you think of when you think of your topic may not be the words that scholars are using to describe your topic, or there may be a bunch of different ways that scholars are referring to your topic. So when you try your search, pay attention to the search results and the words that the experts are using when they talk about different issues related to your topic. Then when you find some words, you can try them in different search tools because different tools have different types of materials in them, and they also bring back, have different search algorithms. So that means that they'll bring back different results depending on how you phrase your search in the tool. JSTOR and Google, for example, and Google Scholar, search the full text of the articles, web pages, and books that they search. And that means that you can put a lot of words into each of those search tools. EBSCO and the library catalog only search the title, author, and summary notes in the search tool and not in the books and articles. So that they're not actually searching the full text. So you have to be very choosy and only use the most specific words that really describe your topic. With that, let's jump in and try some searching. So for example, we may try a search for a very broad search. So if, for example, you're interested in doing something about Adolf Hitler, but you're not sure what, I would suggest that you start with a book search. Books cover much broader coverage of topics, where articles will laser in on some specific aspect of a topic. And if you have a very common a person that's well known that you're researching, or a topic that's really well known, it might be good to start with a book. So if you do a search for Adolf Hitler in the book catalog, we'll see, first of all, that there's 1,200 results and that Salve has a lot. And a search strategy for narrowing down your topic is when you get to the book catalog, you can click on a book and you can look and find, first of all, it's in the library's main collection. And a great thing to do is to go up and find your book, because when you get to the shelf, here we can see all the books that are on the shelf in our catalog. You'll see that there are a bunch of different books all about Adolf Hitler. And if you go up to the shelf, you can take them off and look at the tables of contents and see how each author is covering Adolf Hitler, and if there's some aspect of Adolf Hitler that you're really interested in researching further. So this is a good search strategy if you have a really broad topic and you haven't narrowed it down yet. Just to find one book, get your Library of Congress call number. You can ask a librarian for help in finding it, and then go up and browse the shelf and just see what kinds of books have already been written about Adolf Hitler and what you might be interested in researching more. Another thing that you might do is, if you have somebody who's less well known, there may be books about them, but you could also start with an article search. So in this case, we're choosing Peggy Shippen, and we're doing the library's article search. And just to point out, this is only searching our EBSCO host databases. If you wanted to search JSTOR or one of these other databases, you'd click below here. But let's try EBSCO for starts. So first of all, we see that we have 110 results, which isn't a ton. It doesn't mean there isn't a lot written about her. It just means that in EBSCO, there's only 110. And the first thing we notice is that it seems that there's a lot of book reviews of this book, Treacherous Beauty. So what we might want to do, since we know there is a book about her already written, is we might click on it and capture this title and copy it, and then actually take it back into the book catalog and see if we have it. That would be useful if we did. And so what we find out is it's listed at other libraries worldwide and not at Salve. But that doesn't mean you can't get it. If you have enough time, you can click on the title and place an interlibrary loan request. But that is not the end of the usefulness of this book, because we found one book about Peggy Shippen. We may find others. And the other thing that we can do is identify the language that scholars are using to talk about her. So if we scroll down, we see the table of contents in this book, and then we see the Library of Congress call number subject heading. So this means that a librarian has read this book and has said this book is exactly about Margaret Shippen Arnold, Benedict Arnold, and these other topics. And if we click on, we realize that now scholars may be referring to her as Margaret Shippen as well. If we click on this subject heading, it will bring us to another book, or several other books that are related to Peggy Shippen. So if we do have access to this book, and it's an ebook, so we can click on it, and this takes us into EBSCO, which also has ebooks, and we can see here these are the chapters and the sections within, and you can click on them. And another thing ebooks allow you to do is search within. So if we click on search within right here, and we enter Peggy or Margaret Shippen, let's try Margaret and see what happens. We see that this is the table of the index in the back of the book. And we see that this author is referring to her as Peggy. So let's change it to Peggy. And it's an unusual name, so maybe we can just use Peggy. And then our search here shows us all the places that Peggy Shippen shows up, probably Peggy Shippen shows up within this book. And if we click at them, it will take us to that part of the book where we can read about what this author is saying about Peggy Shippen. Or apparently there's another Peggy as well. So again, this is another search strategy, which, as you remember, we identified a book because of the reviews in EBSCO, and then we went back to the catalog, and even though we couldn't find that book, we found the Library of Congress subject heading for this person, and when we clicked on it, this led us to other books and other results about this person. So this may be a useful tool for finding more materials about your person. And you'll note here, this is archival material. So these are primary source materials, and it's likely that it will be pretty hard to get a hold of these exact materials through interlibrary loan. However, you can see here that there's a term for this called correspondence. And so if we wanted to try to find more materials about Peggy Shippen and correspondence, you could add that term. And this might actually be something that you might do in Google, is actually tie together Arnold Margaret Shippen and correspondence, or Peggy Shippen correspondence, and see if there's an archives which has put material out there about her. Now, the next thing that we might try is we could try a search for another topic. So if we're going back to the library homepage, it'll default to the book search. And perhaps we want to find information about the Catholic Church in the Renaissance. This is another broad term, and we're not sure how it'll go. But we can see that it's bringing up some materials. This one may not be what you're looking for, but again, even if a book doesn't have what you're looking for, you can use information from the book catalog to help you find it, more information. So we tried the term Renaissance, but we're realizing that Renaissance may not be the word that scholars or librarians are using to describe this. So here we can see that Catholic Church was used, but also that the 16th century is the way that they are referring to the Renaissance. So it's actually a specific time period rather than a term describing a time period. If we click on this, even though we may not be interested in Italy, it will redo our search. And if we'd like to take out Italy, and then do our search again, it will show us more books that are about the Catholic Church in the 16th century, and we can see how that helps. And if we would like, we can take these terms and we can bring them into another search tool, such as JSTOR. So if we go back to the library's homepage and click on articles, we can click on JSTOR and do our search again and see what happens. Now, JSTOR, remember, is like Google, so it's going to be searching the full text of the article. And you can see here what it's done is it's separated words. So we have church and century, but this is the 14th century, and Roman Catholic tradition instead of church. Here we have Catholic Church. So one way that you can optimize JSTOR to do what you want it to do is, this works in Google as well, so you can put quotes around it. So you can choose quotes around phrases that you want to stay together. So we want 16th century and Catholic Church to stay together. And if we try our search again, we can see if this has helped us. And so what I see here is a lot of reference to the 16th century and not so much to Catholic Church. So another efficiency tip for um, JSTOR is to take a look at the actual full text. If you click on download PDF, the thing that's missing is Catholic Church. So we have 16th century, but not Catholic Church. So you can do Control or Option F and then do Catholic. And we can see that it shows up 19 times in this article. So it may be that this article is relevant to our search, even though it didn't mention Catholic Church in the title. So this is an efficiency tip in JSTOR, because JSTOR does not use subject headings, so you can't be sure that the meat of the article is about your search words in the same way that you can if you click on a subject heading in the library catalog or in EBSCO. So this hopefully will get you started with some possible search strategies. And I'd like you to try your topic in each of these search tools. And we'll, in class, see if you're having any difficulty and workshop it all together.